A quiet truth changes everything. The people who leave the strongest impression are rarely the loudest, the richest, or the most admired for their appearance. They don't need to fight for attention, because attention naturally follows them. Their confidence feels calm. Their presence feels effortless. When they enter a room, people notice them without knowing exactly why. That kind of attraction cannot be bought, copied, or faked. It is built from the inside, one habit at a time. Yet most people spend years looking in the wrong direction. They search for better clothes, a better hairstyle, a more expensive lifestyle, or the perfect words to impress others. They believe confidence comes after success, and respect comes after recognition. The result is disappointing because the more they chase approval, the further genuine confidence slips away. The truth is that real attraction begins long before anyone sees your face. It begins in your mind, in your daily choices, and in the silent moments when nobody is watching. This is where real strength is created. This is the difference between someone who constantly seeks validation and someone who naturally earns respect wherever they go. The surprising part is that the habits responsible for this transformation are often simple, overlooked, and available to anyone willing to practice them with consistency. They do not depend on talent, beauty, money, or luck. They depend on discipline, awareness, and self-mastery. People become stronger after every challenge, while others become discouraged by the smallest obstacle. The difference is not found in their circumstances. It is found in the habits they repeat every single day. Ancient Shaolin teachings have pointed toward this truth for centuries, and modern psychology continues to confirm many of these same principles through research on resilience, emotional regulation, and human behavior. What many people call charisma is often the visible result of invisible discipline. What looks like confidence is usually years of controlling emotions instead of being controlled by them. What appears to be natural strength is often the reward for thousands of quiet decisions that no one else ever noticed. This is why truly powerful people rarely need to prove anything. Their actions speak long before their words do. There is another fact that many people never realize. The human brain naturally pays attention to emotional stability. People instinctively feel safer around someone who remains calm under pressure. A steady voice, controlled emotions, patient listening, and quiet confidence create trust almost immediately. This response happens faster than most people recognize because our minds are constantly evaluating who appears secure, dependable, and emotionally balanced. Real attraction, therefore, is much deeper than appearance. It is connected to character, consistency, and inner peace. That is why someone with ordinary looks but extraordinary self-control often leaves a stronger impression than someone with perfect appearance but constant emotional chaos. The world rarely talks about this because external change is easier to sell than internal transformation. It is easier to promise confidence through fashion than through discipline. It is easier to market appearance than patience. Yet history repeatedly shows that the individuals remembered for their influence were usually masters of themselves before they became leaders of others. Every great transformation begins where nobody is looking. Every lasting victory begins inside the mind. During this video, you will discover 7 powerful habits that quietly shape people into individuals others naturally admire, trust, and respect. Habits are not temporary tricks for looking confident. They are lifelong practices that strengthen your character from the inside out. You will learn why emotional control makes a person more attractive than constant excitement, why spending time alone can become one of your greatest strengths instead of your greatest fear, why small daily disciplines slowly build unshakable confidence, why speaking less often increases the value of every word you say, why letting go of the need for approval gives you a level of freedom that many people never experience, why every difficulty can become mental training instead of emotional suffering, and finally, why the last habit quietly connects all the others into one powerful way of living. That final lesson is often overlooked, yet without it, the other habits lose much of their power. Many people practice discipline for a few weeks before giving up. Others become emotionally strong for a short period but eventually return to old patterns. The seventh habit explains why this happens and how lasting transformation becomes possible. Missing that final principle is like building a strong house without a foundation. Everything may appear solid for a while, but eventually it begins to fall apart. That is why staying until the very end may completely change the way you think about confidence, attraction, and personal growth. Every section of this journey builds naturally toward the next one, making the final lesson far more meaningful than if it were explained first. By the time this video ends, you will not only understand what makes someone mentally strong, but you will also know how to begin developing these qualities in your own life through practical habits that anyone can start today. None of these ideas require perfect conditions. None require special talent. They only require commitment and the willingness to become a little better than yesterday. That is the path followed by those who quietly rise above fear, pressure, criticism, and distraction. Strength is not loud because true strength is not loud, because true strength never needs to announce itself. It simply exists, and everyone around them can feel it. If you are ready to stop chasing attention and start building genuine confidence from within, then stay with us until the very last minute, because the final habit ties everything together in a way that most people never expect. Welcome to Unshakable Mindset, where we explore timeless wisdom, powerful psychology, and practical lessons that help you build discipline, resilience, and lasting inner strength. If you're ready to become the strongest version of yourself, subscribe to the channel and join a lastimity that believes real success begins with mastering the mind. Now, let's begin. The first habit is learning to master your emotions before they master you. This sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest skills anyone can develop. Every single day, life gives you reasons to become angry, frustrated, jealous, impatient, or afraid. A rude comment can ruin your mood. One failure can make you doubt yourself. A small disagreement can turn into hours of regret because of one emotional reaction. Most people don't lose opportunities because they lack talent. They lose them because they lose control of themselves. The moment emotions take over, clear thinking disappears. Decisions become impulsive. Words become sharper than intended. Actions become driven by temporary feelings instead of lasting wisdom. This is why emotionally strong people stand out wherever they go. They experience the same emotions as everyone else. They feel disappointment. They feel stress. They feel sadness. They feel fear. The difference is that they refuse to let those emotions decide what they do next. They understand that feelings are temporary, but the consequences of their actions can last for years. Instead of reacting immediately, they pause. That small pause changes everything. It gives the mind enough time to take control before emotion takes the driver's seat. Modern psychology explains that when emotions become too intense, the logical part of the brain becomes less active. This is why people often say things they later regret, or make decisions they later wish they could change. The strongest response is not always the fastest one. Sometimes the strongest response is silence. Sometimes it is walking away. Sometimes it is waiting until the mind becomes clear again. This level of self-control creates something that cannot be faked. It creates peace. People naturally trust someone who stays calm during pressure, because calmness signals confidence and stability. Think about the people you admire most. They probably do not explode over every small problem. They remain steady even when life becomes difficult. That quiet stability earns respect without demanding it. Every moment of emotional control becomes a small victory over yourself, and every victory makes the next challenge easier to handle. Little by little, your mind becomes stronger than your emotions instead of becoming their prisoner. The second habit is becoming comfortable with being alone. Many people fear silence because silence forces them to face themselves. The moment the phone is put down, the television is turned off, and the noise disappears, uncomfortable thoughts begin to surface. Instead of sitting with those thoughts, people quickly search for another distraction. They scroll through social media for hours. They keep themselves constantly busy. They fill every quiet moment with entertainment because they believe being alone means being lonely. But solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. Loneliness is feeling empty because you depend on others to complete you. Solitude is feeling peaceful because you have learned to enjoy your own company. This difference changes everything. Some of the greatest thinkers, leaders, artists, and spiritual teachers intentionally spent time alone, not because they hated people, but because silence gave them clarity. In quiet moments, you begin to notice your habits, your fears, your dreams, and the thoughts that normally stay hidden beneath constant distractions. You begin asking questions that busy people never stop long enough to consider. What kind of person am I becoming? What truly matters to me? What truly matters to me? Which habits are helping me, and which ones are slowly destroying my future? These answers rarely appear in crowded places. They appear in stillness. Shi Heng Yi often teaches that if you cannot sit peacefully with yourself, you will constantly seek comfort from the outside world. That search never ends because outside validation is temporary. One compliment feels good for a moment, then you want another. One success makes you happy until someone else achieves more. One relationship feels exciting until insecurity enters the picture. Emotional independence begins when your happiness no longer depends entirely on external approval. The person who enjoys their own company becomes difficult to manipulate because they no longer fear being alone. They choose relationships based on respect instead of desperation. They choose friends because of shared values instead of fear of isolation. This kind of freedom creates quiet confidence that people naturally notice. It is not loud. It does not seek attention. It simply exists. The third habit is building discipline through small daily actions. Many people wait for motivation before taking action. But motivation comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you feel inspired. Other mornings you feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Discipline works differently. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when excitement has disappeared. The biggest misunderstanding about discipline is believing it requires huge sacrifices from the very beginning. In reality, lasting discipline grows from very small promises. Wake up when you said you would. Make your bed. Exercise for 20 minutes. Read a few pages of a good book. Complete one important task before checking social media. Finish what you start instead of leaving everything half done. None of these actions seem life-changing by themselves. Yet repeated every day, they quietly transform your identity. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens self-trust. Every promise you break weakens it. Confidence is not built by telling yourself positive words in front of a mirror. Confidence grows when your actions repeatedly prove that you can rely on yourself. This is why disciplined people appear calm under pressure. They have already trained themselves through thousands of ordinary moments. They know they can overcome discomfort because they have practiced doing difficult things every day. A missed workout may seem small. Reading one chapter instead of watching another hour of entertainment may seem unimportant. Waking up on time may not impress anyone. Yet these tiny victories slowly reshape the brain. Habits become automatic. Discipline becomes part of your identity instead of something you force yourself to do. Eventually, people begin calling you lucky, successful, or naturally confident without realizing they are looking at the result of hundreds of invisible choices repeated over months and years. The fourth habit is learning to speak less and listen more. Modern life rewards constant talking. Everyone wants to share opinions. Everyone wants to be heard. Conversations often become competitions instead of opportunities to understand another person. Yet the strongest individuals rarely feel the need to dominate every discussion. They know silence has power. Silence creates space for observation. While others rush to speak, they quietly notice body language, emotions, and hidden meanings behind words. Listening carefully allows them to understand people on a much deeper level. Good listeners learn faster because they spend less time proving themselves and more time gathering knowledge. They ask thoughtful questions instead of rushing toward easy answers. They choose their words carefully because they understand that words cannot be taken back once they leave the mouth. People often forget long speeches, but they remember thoughtful sentences spoken at exactly the right moment. This is why quiet confidence feels so powerful. It creates curiosity. It makes people pay attention because every word carries intention. Speaking less also protects you from unnecessary conflict. Many arguments continue only because both sides refuse to stop talking. A calm person understands that winning every argument is not the same as living a peaceful life. Sometimes silence protects your energy better than proving a point ever could. Listening also strengthens relationships because people naturally feel respected when they are truly heard. Most individuals spend their lives waiting for their turn to speak instead of genuinely listening. Becoming one of the few who truly listens immediately sets you apart. Wisdom grows faster in a quiet mind than in a noisy one. The fifth habit is stopping the endless search for approval. Approval feels rewarding because the human brain enjoys acceptance. Compliments feel good, praise feels good, recognition feels good. The problem begins when approval becomes a necessity instead of a pleasant bonus. Many people shape their entire lives around other people's opinions. They choose careers to impress family. They hide their true personality to fit into social groups. They remain silent because they fear criticism. They constantly compare themselves with others and change who they are just to receive acceptance. This creates emotional weakness because your happiness now depends on something you cannot control. People's opinions constantly change. Someone may admire you today and criticize you tomorrow. If your self-worth depends on outside approval, your emotions will always rise and fall with every compliment and every criticism. Mentally strong people understand a different truth. Not everyone will like you, and that is perfectly normal. Trying to satisfy everyone usually means betraying yourself. Instead of asking whether everyone approves, they ask whether their actions align with their values. Integrity becomes more important than popularity. Character becomes more important than image. Ironically, people often become more respected once they stop trying so hard to be liked. Authenticity attracts genuine relationships because people trust those who are comfortable being themselves. Real freedom begins when your mirror becomes more important than the opinions of strangers. At that point, criticism becomes useful feedback instead of a personal attack, and praise becomes appreciated without becoming addictive. The sixth habit is turning every difficulty into training. Life never promises comfort. Problems arrive without asking permission. Plans fail. Relationships change. Opportunities disappear. Unexpected challenges appear when you least expect them. Most people immediately ask, why is this happening to me? That question often keeps them trapped because it focuses only on suffering. Mentally strong people ask a different question. What is this teaching me? That simple shift changes the entire experience. Every setback becomes a lesson in patience, and every failure becomes a lesson in resilience. Every disappointment becomes an opportunity to grow wiser. This does not mean enjoying pain or pretending difficulties are easy. It means refusing to waste suffering. Athletes become stronger because muscles grow through resistance. The mind works the same way. Without challenges, patience never develops. Without failure, humility never grows. Without uncertainty, courage remains hidden. Many of the strongest people carry difficult stories behind their calm appearance. They did not become resilient because life was easy. They became resilient because they learned to use hardship as training instead of allowing hardship to define them. Every obstacle became another chance to practice emotional control, discipline, and perseverance. Over time, challenges stopped looking like enemies and started looking like teachers. The seventh habit is living with purpose every single day. Purpose is the force that gives direction to every other habit. Without purpose, discipline eventually fades because there is no meaningful reason to continue. Emotional control becomes difficult because every obstacle feels pointless. Solitude becomes empty because there is nothing meaningful to reflect upon. Emotional control becomes difficult because there is nothing meaningful. Challenges become frustrating because they seem like meaningless suffering. Challenges become frustrating because they seem like meaningless suffering. Emotional control becomes suffering. Purpose changes all of this. It answers the question of why you wake up each morning. It reminds you why your habits matter. It gives ordinary actions extraordinary meaning. Waking up early becomes easier when you know what you are working toward. Exercising becomes easier when you understand the person you are trying to become. Reading, learning, improving, and growing all become natural because every action supports a larger mission. Purpose does not always begin with a huge life-changing goal. Sometimes it begins with becoming a better son, daughter, parent, friend, student, or leader. Sometimes it begins with serving others through your work. Sometimes it begins with simply becoming stronger than the person you were yesterday. Over time, purpose creates consistency because your actions are no longer based only on temporary emotions. They are guided by lasting values. That is how an unshakable mindset is built, one meaningful day after another. The journey to becoming attractive and mentally strong does not begin with changing your appearance. It begins with changing your habits. Every calm response instead of an angry reaction. Every moment spent improving yourself instead of seeking validation. Every promise you keep to yourself. Every word you choose carefully. Every opinion you stop chasing. Every challenge you refuse to run away from. And every day you live with purpose slowly shapes the person you become. None of these habits will transform your life overnight. Real change is never loud. It happens quietly, one decision at a time, until one day people notice something different about you. They notice your confidence, your calmness, and your presence. What they see is not luck or natural talent. They are seeing the result of discipline that was built when nobody was watching. Always remember this. The strongest person is not the one who can control everyone around them. The strongest person is the one who has learned to control themselves. That is a level of strength that no one can take away. Life will continue to test your patience, your courage, and your character. But every test is also another opportunity to become wiser, stronger, and more resilient. The choice is always yours. You can react the way you always have. or you can become the person your future self will thank you for becoming. Now, take a moment and ask yourself one simple question. Which of these 7 habits do you need to start practicing today? Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one habit, commit to it, and let that single decision become the first step toward a stronger mind and a better life. If this video gave you a new perspective or inspired you to improve yourself, make sure to like this video, because every like helps us reach more people who are searching for strength and purpose. Share this video with someone who needs to hear these lessons today. And if you're ready to keep building an unshakable mindset with timeless wisdom, powerful motivation, and practical lessons you can apply every day, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next video. Thank you for watching, and remember, your greatest victory will never be over someone else. It will always be over the person you were yesterday. We'll see you in the next video.